If you work in operations, supply chain, or really any kind of management role, there's this one book that you always see. It's like a sacred text on the shelf.
You know the one. It's got that distinctive cover. People swear by it.
They really do. But here's the thing that's so strange. It's not a textbook. It's a novel,
And not just any novel. It's basically a thriller.
a manufacturing thriller.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that sounds like a total oxymoron, doesn't it?
It does.
But we are talking, of course, about The Goal, a process of ongoing improvement by Eliyahu Goldratt. And today, we're not just, skimming the summary. We're going to tear this thing apart and figure out why a fictional story from the 80s is still one of the most important management books you can read.
Oh, it really is the gold standard. And what's so brilliant about it is that Goldratt knew exactly what he was doing. He had this amazing theory, the theory of constraints. But he knew that if he just wrote a dry academic manual.
With charts and formulas.
Exactly. The people who actually needed it, the plant managers and the shift supervisors, they'd be asleep by page 10.
So instead, he kind of tricked us. He wrapped this, heavy physics lecture inside a story about a guy whose life is just completely falling apart.
And that's the genius. It just lowers the barrier to entry so much. You don't need a PhD to get it. You just need to feel for the main character.
Okay, so let's meet him. Our hero is Alex Rogo. And when we meet Alex, he is having a very, very bad day.
Oh, the worst. He's a plant manager for a company called Unico, and he shows up to work, and his factory is just a total disaster.
Yeah.
Orders are late, customers are furious, and then his boss, the division VP,
Bill Peach.
Bill Peach, right?
Yeah.
He drives up and just drops a bomb on him.
The burning platform.
The ultimate burning platform. Peach basically says, you have 3 months, 90 days, you have to turn this plant around or we're shutting it down, everyone's fired.
I mean, talk about high stakes. And just to make it worse, his personal life is basically a mirror of his professional life.
It is. His wife is totally fed up. The long hours, the stress, she's threatening to leave him. So he's fighting for his job and his marriage at the same time.
Which really grounds the whole thing because efficiency in a textbook is just a word. But when you see Rogo arguing with his wife because a machine broke down and he missed dinner again, you get it. You realize bad management has a real human cost.
Exactly.
So Rogo is drowning. He's just running around putting out fires, which is what most managers think their job is. And then he runs into an old physics professor of his at an airport, a guy named Jonah.
And Jonah is clearly the stand-in for Goldratt himself. He's the cryptic mentor character.
He's the Yoda of manufacturing.
Right. And Rogo starts complaining, but he's also kind of bragging. He's like, oh, our robots are working 24/7. Our efficiency numbers are through the roof. We are so busy.
And Jonah just looks at him and asks this one question that changes everything. He just asks, Alex, what is the goal of your company?
And Rogo gives all the standard corporate speak answers, right?
Yeah, to produce quality products, to have the best technology, to capture market share.
And Jonah just shoots every single one of them down. He says those are just means to an end. They're necessary, but they're not the goal. There is only one goal.
To make money.
To make money, period. It sounds so blunt, almost ruthless.
It does.
But his point is, if you are not making money, you can't do any of those other things. You can't provide jobs. You can't make quality products. You just cease to exist.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because Rogo, and I think a lot of people listening would push back on that, we're taught that if everyone is working hard, if every machine is running at full capacity, we have to be making money.
Right. It seems like basic logic.
Yeah. If I pay someone $30 an hour, I want 60 minutes of work out of them. That's efficiency.
And that is exactly the trap. That is the cost accounting mindset that Goldratt says is destroying businesses. Jonah tells Rogo that by trying to be efficient everywhere, he is actually bankrupting the plant.
Okay, wait, hold on. This is the part that always trips people up. How can working hard possibly be bad for business? If my machine can make 100 parts an hour and I only have it make 50, aren't I just wasting money?
To answer that, you have to look at the best analogy in the whole book, the Boy Scout hike.
I love this part. This is where it all clicks. So Alex Rogo is leading his son's Boy Scout troop on a hike through the woods.
Right, and you have to imagine this line of kids as a production line. The kid at the front is your raw material, the trail is your process, and the destination is a finished product getting sold.
And the goal is to get the entire troop to the campsite together on time.
Correct. Now, Rogo thinks, okay, the average walking speed is 2 miles an hour, so we'll be fine. But what happens almost immediately?
It's chaos. The line just stretches out. There are these huge gaps that the fast kids are way up ahead and the slow kids are falling farther and farther behind.
Exactly. And this shows two critical ideas: dependent events and statistical fluctuations.
Okay, break those down.
Dependent events just means the kid in the back can't go any faster than the kid in front of him. He's blocked.
Simple enough.
And statistical fluctuations mean that nobody walks at a perfectly constant speed. Someone stops to tie their shoe. Someone trips on a route.
In the factory, that's a machine jamming or an operator taking a quick break.
Precisely. So Rogo does what any manager would do. He starts yelling at everyone to close the gaps, hurry up. But the gaps just keep reappearing. And it's all because of one kid.
Herbie.
Herbie. Nice kid, but he's a bit slower than everyone else, and his backpack is way too heavy. And here's the key. No matter how fast the kids at the front walk, the troop as a whole cannot move any faster than Herbie.
Herbie is the bottleneck.
He is the constraint. And this is the massive light bulb moment for Rogo. He realizes the throughput of the entire system, the speed of the hike, is dictated entirely by its slowest part, by Herbie.
So if the fastest kid, let's call him Speedy, just sprints ahead, does that help?
No, it actually hurts.
Yeah.
Because now the line is spread out over miles.
Yeah.
You've lost control. That huge gap between Speedy and Herbie, that represents inventory.
Inventory.
Yeah. In your factory, if your fast machines, your Speedies, are all running at 100% while your bottleneck, Herbie, is struggling, all you're doing is creating a giant pile of half-finished parts in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
You're not making money. You're just tying up cash in work in process that you can't sell.
That's a huge paradigm shift because traditionally accountants look at that pile and say, look at all our valuable assets.
Exactly. Traditional accounting calls inventory an asset. Goldratt says it's a liability. It hides your problems. It eats up your cash. It makes your lead times longer.
So back on the hike, how does Alex fix it? He can't just fire Herbie.
No. He does two very clever things. First, he moves Herbie to the very front of the line.
So he subordinates the entire troop to the pace of the slowest kid.
He does. Because now, nobody can walk faster than Herbie.
True.
The gaps disappear. The inventory is gone. The line stays together.
But the fast kids must be going crazy. They're being held back.
And that's okay. Let them be frustrated. Because them walking faster doesn't help the troop get to the end any quicker. It just creates the illusion of progress.
Okay, and the second thing he does.
He takes the heavy stuff out of Herbie's backpack and has the other, stronger kids help carry it. He elevated the constraint. He makes Herbie faster.
And just like that, the whole troop speeds up together.
That is the theory of constraints in a nutshell. It's that simple.
Okay, so Alex Rogo takes this epiphany from the woods back to the plant. He starts looking for his Herbie, and he finds it. It's a machine called the NCX-10.
Right, and there are parts piled up in front of it for what looks like miles. It's the obvious bottleneck.
And this leads us to the practical part. The formal 5 focusing steps that the book lays out. This is the toolkit.
This is the how-to guide.
Okay, let's walk through them. Step 1, identify the constraint.
Seems obvious, but it's not. You don't find it on a spreadsheet. You find it by walking the floor and looking for the biggest pile of work. For Rogo, it was the NCX-10 and the heat treat furnaces.
Step 2, exploit the constraint. I think this is the one managers miss the most. They immediately want to just buy a new, faster machine.
Which costs a fortune and takes forever. Exploit means getting the absolute most out of what you already have. Make sure the bottleneck is never, ever idle.
Rogo finds out the NCX-10 is sitting empty during lunch breaks.
Which seems normal, right? People have to eat. But Rogo realizes that 1 hour of lost time on the bottleneck is an hour of lost throughput for the entire factory. You can never get that hour back. So he staggers the brakes. He makes sure it's not working on bad parts, no wasting the bottleneck's time.
Squeeze every ounce of value out of Herbie as he is right now.
That's it.
Okay, now for the really hard one. Step 3, subordinate everything else to the constraint.
This is the toughest mental shift. This is where you have to actively fight that efficiency trap.
Explain that. Because if I'm managing a machine that's not the bottleneck, and you tell me to just stop working because the NCX-10 is backed up, I'm going to look at you like you're crazy.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm standing there doing nothing, getting paid.
Right.
And Rogo has to have this exact fight with his own people. He has to tell them, yes, stand there, do nothing. Because if your super fast machine keeps running, you're just flooding the system with more inventory than the bottleneck can ever handle. Yeah. You're just making the problem worse.
It feels so wrong. It feels lazy.
It feels totally counterintuitive. But just think back to the hike. The fast kid sprinting only creates a gap. In the factory, sprinting means you're buying raw materials you don't need yet and burning cash to turn them into piles of metal that just sit there. Subordinating means the entire factory now marches to the beat of the bottleneck's drum.
They actually use a tag system, right? A red tag and a green tag.
Yes, a simple visual system. It's like a VIP pass.
Oh.
If a batch of parts has a red tag, it means the bottleneck is waiting for it. It gets priority everywhere. If it doesn't have a tag, you don't touch it. Period. Even if you have nothing else to do.
Okay, so once you've organized the flow, you get to step 4, elevate the constraint.
Now you can open the checkbook. This is where Rogo brings in an old, retired machine to take some of the load off the NCX-10. It's where you might hire a second operator for the bottleneck station.
You're finally making Herbie run faster.
Exactly. But notice the order. You only do this after you've fully exploited and subordinated. Most companies just jump straight to step 4 and waste millions on new equipment they might not have needed.
And finally, step 5. This one is more of a warning. Repeat.
Because the process never ends. Once you elevate the NCX-10 and make it faster, guess what?
It's not the bottleneck anymore.
It's not the bottleneck anymore. Herbie isn't the slow kid anymore. Now maybe it's Dave.
Right. The constraint moves.
The constraint always moves. Maybe now it's your assembly department or your shipping dock. And if you don't go right back to step 1 and find the new constraint, inertia will kill you. You'll keep treating the NCX-10 like it's the most important thing, even when it's not. It's a constant process.
It's profitable whack-a-mole.
It's the process of ongoing improvement, just like the subtitle of the book.
I want to zoom out a bit. We've been talking about factories and robots. A lot of our listeners are in, tech, marketing, healthcare. Does Herbie exist in a software company?
Absolutely. The principles are 100% universal. In software development, inventory is just code that's been written but hasn't been deployed to customers. It's work in progress.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. So if I have 5 developers writing code like crazy, but I only have one person, a QA engineer, who can test it.
Your QA engineer is Herbie.
And if the developers just keep coding, they are burying that poor QA person in a mountain of features and bugs that they can never get to.
Precisely. And the feedback loop breaks down. By the time QA finds a bug, the developer's already moved on. It's chaos. The solution is to subordinate. Stop writing new code until the existing code is tested and deployed. Have the developers help write automated tests. Clear the bottleneck.
That sounds a lot like Agile or Kanban.
It is. A lot of modern frameworks like Kanban with its WIP limits, work in progress limits, are direct descendants of the theory of constraints. Limiting WIP is just another way of saying, don't let the fast kids run away from Herbie.
It's fascinating. You can even apply it to your personal life. If you're renovating your house and you buy all the materials for the kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom at the same time,
You've just created a massive amount of inventory, cash is gone, and you're tripping over boxes in the hallway. Find the bottleneck, maybe it's waiting for the plumber, and subordinate everything to that. Don't start demolishing the bathroom until you know the plumber is ready to go.
let's quickly touch on the metrics before we wrap up. Because Rogo doesn't just change the workflow. He has to fight the accountants to prove he's actually making money even when his individual machine efficiencies are going down.
Right, this is where throughput accounting comes from. Goldratt throws out all the complex metrics and boils it down to just 3 things: throughput, inventory, and operational expense.
Okay, define those for us.
Throughput is the rate the system generates money through sales. That's the key word, sales, not production. If you build it and it sits on a shelf, it's not throughput.
Got it.
Inventory is all the money the system has invested in things it intends to sell. Raw materials, work in process, all of it. And operational expense is all the money you spend to turn that inventory into throughput, like labor, electricity, rent.
And the goal is?
The goal is simple: increase throughput. That is number 1, while simultaneously reducing inventory and operational expense. But throughput is king.
If a decision doesn't increase throughput, you don't do it.
Even if it makes some machine look more efficient on a report.
Exactly. So, spoiler alert for a 40-year-old book, Alex Rogo saves the plant.
He does. He turns it completely around, and it becomes the most profitable plant in the entire division. He even saves his marriage by applying the same logic, finding the bottleneck in their relationship and making time for his wife.
A true systems thinker. But the book ends on a really interesting note. It's not just a happily ever after. Rogo gets a huge promotion.
Right. He's promoted to run the whole division. And he has this sudden realization that the tools he used to fix the plant, walking the floor, looking for the piles, they won't work anymore when he's managing 3 plants plus sales and marketing. He needs to think bigger.
Which sets up the broader implication of the whole theory.
Exactly. We said the constraint always moves.
Mhm.
Well, if you get really, really good at production, eventually the bottleneck moves outside the factory entirely.
It moves to the market.
The market becomes the constraint. You can now make more stuff than people actually want to buy.
So how do you elevate that constraint?
Well, now you're talking about marketing. Innovation. Shortening your lead times so your offer is more attractive than your competitors.
Yeah.
And this leads to the most provocative idea in the whole philosophy.
Lay it on us.
Since every system, by definition, has to have a constraint, and you can never truly get rid of it, it means you have a choice. You can actually choose where you want your constraint to be.
That doesn't sound like problem solving. That sounds like strategy.
It is strategy.
Yeah.
Do you want your bottleneck to be in production? Well, that means you have more orders than you could fill. That's actually a pretty good problem to have. It gives you pricing power. Or do you want your bottleneck to be in sales? That means your factory is sitting idle and you're desperate for customers. A much worse problem.
So you're not just fixing problems anymore. You're strategically designing the stress points of your own organization.
Exactly. You learn that management isn't about putting out fires. It's about engineering the flow of work so that the fires just don't happen. You control the bottleneck. The bottleneck doesn't control you.
That is a powerful place to end. The goal really isn't just about manufacturing, is it? It's about focus. In a world where we are all just overwhelmed with tasks and data, finding your Herbie is the only way to make real progress.
Couldn't have said it better. If you haven't read it, you really should. It's a quick read, and I promise you will never look at a line at the grocery store the same way again.
Oh, seriously, I was analyzing the checkout lanes yesterday, thinking, okay, that cashier is definitely the constraint.
It's a curse, isn't it? Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Thanks for deep diving with us today. Go find your bottleneck, elevate it, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.